I stood outside Holy Grace Chapel, my hands shaking so hard I could barely hold the crumpled invitation. The white stone building loomed above me, its arched windows glowing with candlelight and laughter. Inside, my brother was getting married. Outside, I was being turned away like a stranger. My mother blocked the entrance, her face twisted into that expression I knew too well. Fake concern masking pure contempt. "Don't make a scene, Tessa," she hissed, loud enough for nearby guests to hear. "You'll ruin everything like you always do." Her words hit like slaps. Guests turned to stare, their whispers creating a buzz of judgment. My blue dress suddenly felt too tight, too cheap, too wrong. I tried to speak, but my throat closed. My mother leaned closer, her perfume choking me. "Everyone knows you're not emotionally stable right now," she said, projecting her voice. "It's better if you just leave." Mascara burned my eyes as tears started falling. I stumbled backward, my heels catching on the stone steps. Just as I turned to flee, a gentle voice called my name. "Tessa." The groom's mother stood behind my mom, her expression soft but serious. "You deserve to know the truth. My name is Tessa Ward, and until that moment I thought I was part of this family. I'm 27 years old, a registered nurse at County General, and for the past 6 years, I believed I was the glue holding our broken family together. It started when Dad had his heart attack during my second year of nursing school. Mom fell apart, sobbing that we'd lose everything. Luke, my younger brother, was only 17, scared and confused. So I stepped up. I worked double shifts at the hospital, picked up weekend shifts at urgent care, and somehow kept my grades high enough to graduate. I paid our mortgage for 8 months straight. I covered Luke's senior year expenses, his college application fees, even his dorm deposit at State University. Mom called me the responsible one, her rock, her blessing. She'd hug me tight after I handed her another check, tears in her eyes, promising she'd never forget what I'd done. I believed her. I believed that sacrifice meant love. I believed that family meant forever. Now, standing outside my brother's wedding, uninvited and unwanted, I finally understood the truth. Family was conditional, and I just failed the terms. The engagement party should have been my first warning. 3 months earlier, Luke called me, breathless with excitement. "Tess, I proposed." Ava said yes. I screamed with joy, genuinely happy for him. Ava seemed sweet, kind, completely different from his previous girlfriends. "We're having an engagement party next month," he continued. "Mom said you'd help plan it, right? You're so good at that stuff." Of course I agreed. I spent 2 weeks coordinating everything. Booking the community hall, arranging catering, ordering decorations in their colors, sage green and ivory. I paid the deposits from my savings, over $800 total. Mom promised she'd reimburse me once things settled. The party was beautiful. String lights twinkled overhead, the food was perfect, and Luke looked happier than I'd seen him in years. During the toasts, Mom stood up, radiant in a new silk blouse. "I'm so proud of my son and his beautiful fiancée," she announced. "Ava, you've given Luke direction he desperately needed. Planning this celebration was such a joy." She never mentioned my name once. Later, I overheard her talking to Ava near the dessert table. "Tessa gets jealous easily," she said, lowering her voice just enough to seem confidential. "Don't take it personally if she acts strange. She's always struggled with Luke's success." 2 weeks after the party, I was scrolling through social media during my lunch break when I saw Mom's post. The photos showed the engagement party in all its glory. The decorations I'd hung, the cake I'd ordered, the centerpieces I'd arranged. The caption made my stomach drop. "So blessed to have organized my son's engagement celebration. Grateful for amazing vendors who brought my vision to life." She tagged every vendor. Every single one I'd contacted, negotiated with, and paid. The comments poured in, praising her planning skills, her taste, her dedication. My aunt commented, "You're such a wonderful mother, always going above and beyond." Not one mention of me. I felt sick. That evening I drove to her house, my hands gripping the steering wheel too tight. She answered the door with a bright smile that faded when she saw my face. "Mom, why did you post that you organized the party?" I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. She laughed, actually laughed. "Oh, Tessa, don't be dramatic. Does it really matter who gets credit?" "I paid for everything," I said. "I spent weeks planning." She waved her hand dismissively. You don't need recognition for family, do you? That's so petty. When I didn't respond, her expression hardened. This is exactly what I mean about you making everything about yourself. 4 months before the wedding, Luke called at 11 at night, panic in his voice. Tess, I messed up. The venue needs the final deposit by tomorrow, or we lose the date. I'm $3,000 short. My heart sank. I just paid off my car and had exactly $3,200 in savings. Luke, that's everything I have, I said softly. I know. I'm desperate. Mom already gave what she could. He sounded close to tears. Please, Tess. I'll pay you back immediately after the honeymoon. I promise. I transferred the money that night. My savings account balance dropped to $200. The next morning, Mom called. Thank you for helping your brother. I'll make sure he pays you back, don't worry. Her voice was warm, grateful. 2 days later, I saw her Instagram story. She was at an upscale boutique, twirling in a designer dress. The price tag was visible in one shot, $2,800. The caption read, Luke surprised me with the most gorgeous mother of the groom dress. So grateful for my generous son. My text to her went unanswered. My call went to voicemail. When I finally reached Luke, he sounded confused. What are you talking about? I didn't buy Mom a dress. She said you insisted she get something nice and that you'd cover it. The invitations went out in January. I waited by my mailbox every day like a child waiting for Christmas. My coworkers got theirs. My cousins posted photos of theirs online. My mailbox remained empty. After a week, I called Luke. Hey, I haven't gotten my invitation yet. Did you send it to my old address? There was a pause too long. Let me check with Ava. He sounded uncomfortable. Another week passed. Nothing. I finally called the venue directly, pretending to confirm my meal choice. The coordinator was friendly and helpful until she pulled up the guest list. I'm sorry, I don't see Tessa Ward on our list, she said slowly. Are you sure you're invited? My chest tightened. Can you check when my name was removed? Another pause. It looks like it was removed 6 weeks ago, on October 15th. The note says the bride's family requested the change. October 15th, the day after I'd transferred the deposit money. That evening, I sat in my car outside Mom's house for 20 minutes before I found the courage to walk to her door. She answered wearing reading glasses, looking domestic and innocent. Tessa, what's wrong? Why am I not invited to Luke's wedding? I asked flatly. Her face transformed into perfect confusion. What? Of course you're invited. You must have fallen off the list somehow. I'll fix it. But she didn't fix it. 2 more weeks passed with more excuses. The printer must have made an error. I'm sure it's just a misunderstanding. Don't be so paranoid. Finally, I drove to her house unannounced, shaking with anger and hurt. She was hosting her book club, and I could hear laughter through the door. I rang the bell repeatedly until she answered, embarrassment flickering across her face. Tessa, this isn't a good time. Why did you have me removed from the guest list? I demanded, my voice cracking. Her book club friends appeared behind her, curious and uncomfortable. Mom's expression crumpled into sudden tears, so convincing I almost believed them myself. How can you accuse me of something so horrible? She sobbed. After everything I've sacrificed for you? Luke appeared from the kitchen, irritation crossing his face. What's going on? Your sister is making insane accusations about the wedding, Mom said, her voice trembling. She's claiming I deliberately excluded her. Luke looked at me with disappointment I'd seen 1,000 times before. Tess, seriously? You're making everything about you again. I stood there, speechless, while Mom sobbed into her hands. Her friends murmured sympathetic words. Luke put his arm around her protectively. Nobody asked for my side. I left in silence, my vision blurred with tears. 1 week before the wedding, my phone buzzed with an unknown number. The text message was short. Hi Tessa, this is Ava. Can we talk privately? My heart raced as I called her back. She answered immediately, her voice quiet and careful. I'm calling from my office. Luke doesn't know. Okay, I said, confused. Tessa, I'm so confused. Your mom told me you refused to attend the wedding because you disapproved of me. She said you called me a gold digger. The words hit like ice water. What? Ava, I never said anything like that. I've barely even met you. She was quiet for a moment. That's what I thought. Nothing added up. You sent such a sweet engagement gift, and Luke always spoke highly of you. But your mom was so convincing. My hand started shaking. Ava, I want to come. I've been trying to come. I was removed from the guest list. Oh my God, she whispered. Tessa, I had no idea. Your mom told us you were going through a difficult time and needed space. She made it sound like you were struggling emotionally, and that seeing Luke happy might trigger you. Trigger me. My own mother had painted me as unstable. I'm a nurse, Ava. I work full-time. I'm completely fine. I believe you, she said firmly. I wish I'd reached out sooner. The wedding day arrived cold and bright. I woke at dawn, my stomach churning with anxiety and determination. I put on my simple blue dress, the one I'd bought months ago when I still thought I'd be celebrating with my family. I did my makeup carefully, hands trembling as I applied mascara. The drive to Holy Grace Chapel took 40 minutes. I practiced what I'd say 100 different ways. I just wanted to see my brother get married. I just wanted to belong. The parking lot was already full when I arrived. I recognized cars belonging to aunts, uncles, cousins I'd grown up with. Everyone had been invited except me. I walked up the stone steps, my heels clicking too loudly. Guests streamed past me in elegant dresses and suits. Some glanced at me curiously. I reached the entrance just as my mother appeared, blocking my path. Her face went white, then red, then settled into cold fury. What are you doing here? She hissed. People were starting to notice. She grabbed my arm, her fingernails digging into my skin. You need to leave. Now. I just want to see Luke get married, I said, my voice breaking. She leaned closer, her voice dropping to a harsh whisper. You're an embarrassment. You'll ruin everything, just like you always do. Security. Mom called out, her voice suddenly loud and panicked. Please, someone help. My daughter is unwell and trying to disrupt the ceremony. Guests turned to stare fully now. I felt their judgment like physical weight. A security guard approached, looking uncomfortable. Ma'am, I'm going to have to ask you to leave, he said gently. Tears burned down my cheeks. This couldn't be happening. Not like this. Wait. The voice was firm and kind. The groom's mother, Patricia, stepped between us. She was elegant in a lavender dress, her silver hair swept into a neat bun. Behind her stood the groom's father, Marcus. They both looked at my mother with expressions I couldn't quite read. Diane, we need to speak with Tessa, Patricia said calmly. My mother's face went rigid. That's not necessary. She's leaving. No, Marcus said, his voice leaving no room for argument. She's not. Tessa, would you come with us, please? Patricia gently took my elbow, guiding me away from the entrance. Mom started to follow, but Marcus blocked her path. This doesn't concern you right now, Diane. We walked to a quiet garden area behind the chapel, away from prying eyes. My heart hammered so hard I felt dizzy. Patricia gestured to a bench. Please sit. Patricia pulled out her phone, her expression sad and angry at once. Tessa, we've been wanting to talk to you for weeks, but we didn't know how to reach you privately. She scrolled through her messages. About 2 months ago, your mother sent Ava disturbing texts. She claimed they were from you. My stomach dropped. She showed me the screen. The messages were vicious, accusing Ava of being a manipulative liar, calling her a cheater, threatening to expose her at the wedding. The contact name said Tessa Ward, but the number wasn't mine. I never sent those, I whispered, horror washing over me. We know, Marcus said gently. Ava was devastated. She showed us immediately. But your mother convinced us that you were having some kind of breakdown. She said you'd been struggling with addiction and jealousy. Addiction, jealousy, breakdown. The lies kept getting worse. That's why we agreed you shouldn't be at the wedding, Patricia continued, her voice thick with regret. We thought we were protecting everyone. But then last week, Ava showed us something else. She pulled up bank statements. My bank statements. Ava got suspicious when your mother kept asking Luke for money. She accessed his accounts and found transfers. Large transfers. All from you to Luke over the past 2 years. The numbers were staggering. I'd never added them up before. Over $18,000. Your mother told everyone that you'd stolen money from Luke, Marcus said quietly. She said that's why you couldn't be trusted at the wedding. But these statements tell a very different story. Inside the chapel, organ music swelled. The ceremony was beginning. Patricia checked her watch. Marcus, you should go. Luke needs to know before he says his vows. My heart lurched. No, please. Don't ruin his wedding. Tessa, Patricia said firmly, taking both my hands. Your mother has been lying to everyone for months. Luke deserves to know the truth about his own sister. Marcus hurried toward the chapel entrance. Through the open doors, I could see guests standing as Ava began her walk down the aisle. She looked beautiful in white lace, her face glowing. Luke stood at the altar, handsome in his tuxedo, beaming. For a moment I hoped Marcus would let it go. Let them have their perfect moment. But he leaned close to Luke, whispering urgently. I watched my brother's expression change. Confusion first, then disbelief, then something that looked like horror. His eyes searched the crowd and found Mom sitting in the front row, dabbing at her eyes with a tissue. The officiant began speaking, but Luke wasn't paying attention. His gaze kept returning to our mother, then to Marcus, then to where I sat hidden in the garden. Ava noticed something was wrong. She touched his hand, concerned. He forced a smile, but it didn't reach his eyes. The ceremony continued, vows exchanged, rings slipped on fingers. But I could see Luke's hands shaking. I could see the tension in his shoulders. The kiss was brief, distracted. Applause filled the chapel, but my brother looked like he'd just woken from a nightmare. The receiving line formed outside after the ceremony. I stayed hidden in the garden, watching from behind a hedge of roses. Guests congratulated the new couple. My mother posed for photos, radiant and proud. But Luke kept pulling away from the photographer, his eyes scanning the crowd. Finally, during a break before the reception, he broke away completely. I watched him stride across the lawn toward where Mom stood chatting with relatives. His face was dark with anger. We need to talk. Now. His voice carried across the garden. Mom's smile faltered. Sweetheart, what's wrong? It's your wedding day. You lied about Tessa. The words stopped her cold. Nearby guests went quiet, sensing drama. What? No, honey, your sister is unwell. We've discussed this. Marcus just told me everything. The fake messages. The addiction lies. The theft accusations. Luke's voice was shaking. How could you do that to her? To your own daughter. Mom's face cycled through emotions: shock, hurt, indignation. Luke, I was trying to protect you. Tessa has always been jealous of you. She paid for my college. Luke shouted. Guests were definitely watching now. She paid our mortgage. She gave me $3,000 for this wedding. And you told everyone she stole from me? Ava appeared at his side, still in her wedding dress, her face pale. It's true, Mom, Diane. We saw the bank records. Mom looked around wildly, seeing the circle of witnesses growing. This is ridiculous. She's manipulated all of you. Stop lying. The shout came from me. I hadn't meant to speak. But suddenly I was walking toward them. Months of silence breaking like a dam. Every eye turned toward me. Mom's face went white. I have proof, I said, pulling out my phone with trembling hands. Every transfer. Every text. Every lie. I turned to the gathered crowd. I paid for this wedding venue. I planned the engagement party. I've supported this family for 6 years. And my mother erased me like I never existed. Mom tried to recover. Tessa, you're having an episode. Everyone, please ignore her. Show them the fake messages, Patricia called out, moving to stand beside me. Show them the texts Diane sent pretending to be Tessa. Marcus pulled out his phone, displaying the vicious messages for nearby guests to see. Murmurs of shock rippled through the crowd. Show them the bank statements, Ava added quietly, tears streaming down her face. Show them who really supported Luke all these years. Mom looked around, seeing judgment replacing sympathy. Her carefully constructed image was crumbling. Without a word, she turned and rushed toward the parking lot. She didn't say goodbye to Luke. She didn't apologize to Ava. She just fled, her heels clicking rapidly on the pavement. The wedding guests watched her go in stunned silence. I stood there, shaking, unable to process what had just happened. Luke turned to me, his face crumpling. Tess, I didn't know. I swear I didn't know. But he had known. Some part of him had always known. I didn't stay for the reception. Despite Ava's gentle insistence that I was welcome, I couldn't bear the stares and whispers. I drove home in a daze, still wearing my blue dress, mascara dried in tracks down my face. My apartment felt too quiet. I sat on my couch, staring at nothing, my phone buzzing with messages I couldn't bring myself to read. The next few days were surreal. The story spread through our family like wildfire. Cousins who'd ignored me for months suddenly called, wanting details. Aunts who believed Mom's lies sent awkward apology texts. Social media exploded with barely veiled posts. Mom's friends defended her with vague messages about misunderstandings and family struggles. My brother's wedding became known not for the beautiful ceremony, but for the dramatic confrontation that exposed our family's dark truth. Mom posted cryptic quotes on her profile. Some children never appreciate their mother's sacrifices. The truth always reveals who's been ungrateful all along. Each post made my blood boil, but I didn't respond. I didn't engage. I simply blocked her on every platform and decided to focus on the one thing I could control, my own life. My supervisor at the hospital noticed my distraction and pulled me aside. Everything okay, Tessa? I almost lied, but instead I told her everything. She listened, her expression growing more shocked by the minute. When I finished, she said something that changed everything. The hospital board has been looking for someone to lead our new mentorship program. Would you be interested? The promotion was unexpected but perfect. Leading the nursing mentorship program meant developing curriculum, training new nurses, and creating support systems for medical staff facing burnout. It was challenging work, but it filled the empty space my family had left behind. I threw myself into the role completely. Within 2 months, our program was featured in a national nursing journal. Within 4 months, hospitals across the state were requesting information about our model. My supervisor nominated me for the Regional Healthcare Leadership Award. Meanwhile, Mom's carefully curated life was falling apart. Word of her lies had spread beyond our family into her social circles. The charity organization where she'd volunteered as coordinator quietly asked her to step down. Her book club uninvited her after several members expressed discomfort. The church women's group where she'd been treasurer for 5 years requested she transfer responsibilities to someone else. I heard these updates through my aunt, who'd always been skeptical of Mom but never spoke up before. Your mother is telling everyone she's being persecuted, my aunt reported during one of our coffee meetings. She's playing the victim beautifully. Of course she is, I said, stirring my latte. For the first time, the news didn't hurt. Just felt like confirmation. My aunt studied me carefully. You seem different, Tessa. Lighter somehow. I was lighter. The weight of constantly trying to prove myself, to earn love that should have been unconditional, had lifted. I was free. 6 weeks after the wedding, Luke sent me a text. I stared at it for 5 full minutes before opening it. I didn't know, Tess. I'm sorry. Can we talk? 3 sentences. 6 years of being his safety net, his silent supporter, his forgotten sister. 3 sentences. I typed and deleted responses for an hour. Finally, I wrote nothing back at all. Silence felt like power. Days passed. He sent another message. Please. I need to explain. Still, I didn't reply. Another week. Ava thinks I should give you space. She's probably right. But I miss you. I almost responded to that one. Almost. Instead, I went to dinner with Patricia and Marcus. They'd been reaching out regularly since the wedding, apologizing repeatedly for believing Mom's lies. We should have verified her claims, Patricia said over pasta. We failed you. You didn't know, I said gently. She's very convincing. Marcus shook his head. We let prejudice guide us. When she said you were struggling with addiction, we didn't question it because... He trailed off uncomfortably. Because addiction is believable and easy to weaponize. I finished for him. Exactly. We talked for hours that night. They told me about their own family struggles, their own regrets. They treated me like I mattered, like my perspective was valuable. It was the kind of parental attention I'd craved my whole life. When they dropped me off at my apartment, Patricia hugged me tightly. You're an extraordinary young woman, Tessa. Your mother's inability to see that is her tragedy, not yours. 2 months after the wedding, Mom called. I stared at her name on my screen, my heart rate spiking. I'd blocked her on social media, but I couldn't quite bring myself to block her number. Against my better judgment, I answered. Hello. Silence. Then crying. Deep, dramatic sobs that once would have made me rush to fix whatever was wrong. Tessa, she choked out. How could you do this to me? My grip tightened on the phone. Excuse me. Everyone has turned against me. The church, my friends, my own family. All because you twisted the truth and made me look like a monster. I felt a laugh building in my chest, bitter and incredulous. I twisted the truth? Mom, you told everyone I was an addict. You sent fake messages pretending to be me. You stole credit for things I paid for and planned. I was trying to protect Luke from your jealousy. Her tears stopped abruptly, replaced by anger. You've always resented his success, his happiness. I did what any mother would do. You lied, I said flatly. You systematically destroyed my reputation because you couldn't stand sharing the spotlight. That's not. I'm done, Mom. The words came out calm and clear. I'm done being your scapegoat. I'm done trying to earn love that should have been unconditional. I'm done. She started crying again. You're punishing me for one mistake. Tessa, I'm your mother. You can't just abandon me. I listened to her sob, feeling absolutely nothing. You did that all by yourself, I said softly. Then I hung up. And this time I did block her number. Spring arrived, bringing unexpected growth. My mentorship program expanded to 3 hospitals. I spoke at a regional nursing conference about preventing burnout and establishing healthy boundaries. The audience gave me a standing ovation. Afterward, a young nurse approached me, tears in her eyes. Thank you, she said. My family makes me feel guilty for prioritizing my career. Your talk made me realize that's their problem, not mine. I hugged her tightly, remembering when I'd felt exactly the same way. One afternoon, I received a letter at the hospital. The return address was Luke and Ava's apartment. Inside was a handwritten note on cream-colored stationery. Dear Tessa, I don't know if you're ready to hear from us, but I wanted to reach out. First, to apologize again for believing your mother's lies. Second, to thank you for showing what true loyalty looks like. Third, to share some news. I'm pregnant. It's early, just 8 weeks, but we're excited and terrified. Luke and I have been talking about values we want to pass on to our child. Honesty, integrity, boundaries, things we failed to show at our wedding. We'd like to start over with you if you're willing. No pressure, no expectations. Just an invitation to be part of this new beginning. With love and respect, Ava. Tears blurred my vision. I read the letter 3 times. That evening I called her. Congratulations, I said when she answered. She started crying immediately. We talked for 2 hours carefully and honestly. By the end, something fragile but real had formed between us. Trust. Through Ava I heard updates about Mom. She was telling neighbors she'd been abandoned by ungrateful children who chose money over family. She posted photos of herself looking sad and isolated with captions about betrayal and loneliness. My cousin sent me screenshots expecting me to be upset. Instead I laughed. Actually laughed. She's really committed to the victim narrative. I told my therapist during our weekly session. I'd started therapy after the wedding, working through years of manipulation and gaslighting. How does that make you feel? Dr. Brennan asked, pen poised over her notepad. Nothing, I realized with surprise. It doesn't hurt anymore. Dr. Brennan smiled. That's significant progress, Tessa. It was. 4 years. Mom's approval had been the compass guiding every decision. Her disappointment could ruin my entire week. Her praise, rare as it was, felt like sunlight after endless rain. Now her opinion was just noise. Background static I could choose to ignore. I started dating again, something I'd avoided during my years of family obligation. I went to concerts, joined a hiking group, adopted a rescue dog named Pepper. I filled my apartment with plants and art. I built a life that felt authentically mine. When people asked about my family, I gave short, honest answers. We're not in contact. Most didn't push further. Those who did received the truth. I stopped protecting her reputation. 6 months after the wedding, I bought a small house. It wasn't much. A 2-bedroom cottage that needed work, but it was mine. I painted the walls sage green and cream, planted flowers in the overgrown garden, installed shelves for my growing book collection. Pepper loved the fenced backyard. I spent weekends fixing things, learning from YouTube videos, making mistakes and laughing at them. My nursing blog, which I'd started as a way to process my emotions, had grown unexpectedly. Thousands of nurses followed my posts about family burnout, setting boundaries, and recovering from toxic relationships. The comments section became a support community. People shared their own stories of manipulation and recovery. "You saved my life," one commenter wrote. "I was about to give my entire savings to my sister again. Your post about financial boundaries made me realize I don't owe anyone my security." Messages like that made everything worthwhile. Patricia and Marcus came to my housewarming party. So did Ava, her pregnancy bump just starting to show. Luke came too, awkward and uncertain. We'd been rebuilding slowly, carefully. He was genuinely trying to understand how blind he'd been. "This place is amazing, Tess," he said, looking around at the cozy rooms I'd created. "You did all this yourself?" "I did." Pride warmed my chest. "It's not perfect, but it's mine." He nodded, understanding the deeper meaning. Nothing in my life was perfect, but it was finally truly mine. 9 months after the wedding, Luke emailed me. The subject line read, "Need advice." My stomach tensed. I opened it hesitantly. "Mom's been asking for money. A lot of money. She says she's about to lose her house, that everyone's abandoned her, that she has no one else to turn to. She's called me 15 times today. I don't know what to do. Part of me wants to help her. She's our mother. But Ava says I need to learn from what happened to you. What would you do?" I stared at the email for a long time. A year ago, I would have already transferred the money, would have sacrificed my own security to prevent Mom's suffering. Now I felt only tired sadness. I replied simply, "That's her responsibility now. You can't fix someone who won't acknowledge their own problems. If you give her money, you're enabling the same patterns that hurt us both. Sometimes the most loving thing you can do is let someone face the consequences of their own choices. Love, Tess." He wrote back an hour later. "You're right." I told her no. It was the hardest thing I've ever said to her. "Thank you." For the first time, Luke was setting his own boundaries. For the first time, he was listening. 2 weeks later, I learned through my aunt that Mom had moved in with an old friend from high school. Someone she'd once bragged about being so much more successful than. The irony wasn't lost on me. I felt no joy in her downfall, but I felt relief in my freedom. A year after the wedding, Luke called me crying. "My marriage is falling apart," he said, his voice broken. "Ava's exhausted. She says I don't stand up to Mom enough, that I still make excuses for her. She's right, Tess. She's absolutely right, but I don't know how to change." I met him at a quiet coffee shop. He looked terrible, exhausted, defeated. Fatherhood was 2 months away, and his foundation was crumbling. "Ava gave me an ultimatum," he said. "Complete family therapy or she's leaving. She won't raise our child around Mom's toxicity." "That's fair," I said gently. He looked at me with desperate eyes. "I wish I'd believed you sooner. I wish I'd seen what she was doing to you all those years. Maybe if I'd spoken up, protected you, we wouldn't be here." I wanted to say it was okay, but it wasn't. "You can't change the past," I told him. "But you can choose differently now. I don't know if it's too late." "That's for Ava to decide," I said honestly. "But therapy is a good start. Actually facing Mom's manipulation instead of denying it, that's growth." He nodded miserably. "What was it like when you finally walked away from her?" I thought carefully. Terrifying at first, then liberating. Now, peaceful. I don't miss the version of her I wanted her to be. And I don't mourn the version that actually existed. "Do you ever think about reconciling?" "No," I said simply. "Some bridges once burned shouldn't be rebuilt. The foundation was always rotten." Luke and Ava started intensive therapy. She didn't leave him, but she made clear that fundamental changes were required. He stopped answering Mom's calls. He blocked her on social media. He established firm boundaries about their upcoming baby. She wouldn't be allowed unsupervised visits, if she was allowed any at all. Mom responded with predictable fury. She sent long, rambling emails about betrayal and abandonment. She showed up at Luke's apartment 3 times before he threatened legal action. She called me repeatedly from different numbers until I changed mine completely. My aunt reported that she was telling anyone who'd listened that her children had been brainwashed by their spouses, and that she was the real victim. The narrative never changed. She would never see herself clearly. But that was no longer my problem. Spring arrived again, 1 full year since my world had shattered and rebuilt. I stood in my garden, Pepper racing around the yard, my hands deep in soil as I planted vegetables. My phone rang. Patricia. Tessa dear, I wanted to let you know Luke and Ava had the baby. A girl. 7 pounds, healthy. They named her Grace. Tears sprang to my eyes. That's wonderful. There's more. They'd like you to be her godmother. If you're comfortable with that, given everything. I sat down heavily on my garden bench, overwhelmed. Really? Really? You've shown them what integrity looks like. They want Grace to know you. I wiped my eyes, laughing and crying at once. I'd be honored. That evening I held my niece for the first time. She was perfect, tiny, a fresh start. As I looked into her newborn face, I made a silent promise. She would never doubt she was loved. She would never be escape.